All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coyotes Coach Chats. Today, our featured coach is Cory Stillman, and we've also got Joe Bonnet from USA Hockey. If you registered for CEP credits, Joe is your guy. So please stay tuned, and we're about to get started. If you do have any questions along the way, you will want to type them into the Q&A box or the question box, and we'll try to answer them as soon as we can. We will have a Q&A portion towards the end of Cory's talk. He'll be talking to you all for about 15 minutes. So please make sure to add those in there. I'm going to go ahead and have everyone quickly introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
I'll start off here. Hi, my name's Shane Doan. I work with the Coyotes. I'm the Chief Hockey Development Officer with the Coyotes. This is a huge thing for us, so we're excited about offering. But that's my title and what I'm getting to do now.
I can go next here. My name is Mike DeAngelis. I'm a 16 AAA coach here with the Junior Coyotes here in town, and I'm also a part-time scout for college free agents for the Coyotes this year.
Hi, I'm Cory Stillman. I'm an assistant coach here with the Coyotes. It's my second year. And I'm going to be going over how we look and break down pre-scouts.
Hey, my name is Joe Bonnet. I'm the USA Hockey ADM Regional Manager for Rocky Mountain and parts of Pacific. I just want to thank the Coyotes for putting on this great event, for Shane and Mike and Christine and Cory being here tonight, and let me be part of it. Thanks.
All right. And then Shane, I know you had a few words that you wanted to say.
I just wanted to say thank you guys. We see everybody that's kind of logged on here. This is something that I'm a big proponent of. I think that the coaches that we have here with the Coyotes they have incredible knowledge and incredible understanding of the game. On top of that, they're good men, and they want to help out and they want to help other coaches. Stiller's won the Stanley Cup a few times. He's got boys in the NHL, and he's coached in the OHL as a head coach, and he's now obviously the assistant coach of the Coyotes. But he's not only that, he's just a wealth of knowledge of understanding the game. And as I've been around him for the last 2 years, it's been an absolute joy getting to see the way that he sees the game. And I think that his insight into the game is it's unique. And for you guys to be able to sit and listen to him break down videos is so valuable as a coach. I know that in sitting around and being around him has made me a better coach, and I know it'll do with you guys. Also, having Christina and Mike D here, it's so nice that the Coyotes have two people involved. Mike's came on as kind of helping me out with the hockey development. Christina's kind of taken control over the hockey development and doing an incredible job. So we're heading in that direction. And a huge thank you to Joe. Joe, for you putting the credits involved and helping us get involved. USA Hockey it's important for us to push the sport here in the Valley, and having you part of that we really appreciate you jumping on and helping us out, because you give so much credibility to us with doing that. So other than that, I want to just say thanks to everyone and hand it off to Stiller. Go ahead, Stiller.
Hey guys, hey, thank you for being part of this. So I was asked to come on and I can show you how the Coyotes go through a pre-scout, and this is done every game. We're fortunate we have like 5 coaches, but we also have a video coach, which I know in minor hockey isn't always there. You often have a parent videotape in the game and you get to go home and watch it. But so what I've done is I'm going to show you the step-by-step process on how we look at it. And the real reason is why we look at it. Okay. We often worry about our team every day, how we play the game, but then we want to see some of the tendencies that the other teams do. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen. All right. Here in Arizona, we use a system called XOs. I think you guys can see it. If you can't, just let me know and I'll stop on that. Over here in the left side, we have all our games that we've played. Every one of these games over here on the left side is going to have a pre-scout of a power play, a penalty kill, how they play 5-on-5, And then after the game, which I won't get into, is then it's broken down into how we play the game. What are we going to keep for the next time moving forward, and how we go from there. Okay. So here we go. So how do we get to this? So at the start, we have Hunter Cherney, who is our video coach, and he'll go in and he'll watch 3 games usually before we play a team. I'm going to use Winnipeg because we are coming up and play them. Please don't pass this information on because they may be able to change a bit. But we look at their systems, their scoring chances, face-offs, and their team tendencies, which is the biggest one for us, right? So goals for, goals against, you start to see an example is, where does Alex Ovechkin score? Everybody's going to see that he scores from the dot. This is the power play. How can we defend it? All right. So we get 30 clips to start. It shows everything. And by the time we go to present it to our team, like anybody, the games where it's about an hour and a half before the game, and their attention span isn't very high on that one. We have to be in and out within 5 minutes, as it says here. Usually if we can get clips down to about 2.5, 3 minutes, and we can talk a little about it. Okay. So here we go with D-zone coverage. So we're playing Winnipeg here. So we've watched our games and we're cutting it down. So this would be the presentation that we'll show our players. And then down here in the left-hand side, I have Winnipeg D-zone coverage. They cut the reset and they're gone. When we talk about reset, is a defenseman throwing the puck behind the net, a winger in this area getting in trouble, throwing it back in, and put the battle in the low zone. All right. So here's a prime example of it. D-man gets the puck. He's going to throw it, try to throw it back into the net to relieve pressure. But they do this a lot. This is only one clip, 5-6 times a game. They'll cut the clip. And again, if we watch how fast this happens, they go from one end to the other, and the puck's in the net in 7 seconds. So how do we beat this? Now we've got to look at, how do we beat it? Can we use the back of the net? Yes. Well, you're going to have to put it hard, or the next time is just throw the puck at the net. Now, in normal coverage, when they get into this, you get them in their zone. We want to have O-zone possession time. We want to keep the play in there and have scoring chances. How do we beat the Winnipeg Jets? Bottom corner. They'll play man on man. So I'm going to move this video here. All right, we get into it. And I'm going to stop right now. If we see this, since they've moved up, man on man, man on man, this is going to be man on man. He's picking up. So now we got a man on man. Now we go back to our system. How do we man on man? Here it is, a shot, box out. Okay. Next clip we take from them becomes how they return to the zone to set up for back checking. As coaches, we tell our players every level, track through the dots. When you're back checking, come through the dots. You can sort everything out. And then when you get in here, let's stop in the house, right? You'd have a D-man. You'll have F1 back in here. You'd have your wingers post up into here and a D-man in front. Now, what happens sometimes, the Coyotes were bad at it too, is that we'll over back check in certain periods into there. Here they come with an over back check. He's where he's supposed to. This is a tendency. He's going to come in and take a strike. Puck gets back to the D. Simple hockey. Get puck to the net. Goal. These are what we're trying to figure out. How are we going to score goals against them without really changing our system a whole lot? To show the comparison on what, does every team play the same in their zone? No, every team is different. Here we are playing the Florida Panthers. They zone defense, and I have 2 clips to show them on this one. Here the puck comes in. If we see this, the other time against Winnipeg, I would have shown this guy would have jumped out. He jumps out. He would have left to go over here. Florida plays it a different way. They're always going to keep their centerman inside this box most of the time, and this is his area. So if we see he doesn't shade, he stays in, creates a turnover, puck is on his stick. Here they are, just so you can see a different one if you couldn't see it on that one. 15 right now coming back is going to be their He'll go to come in. He's in the play. Puck changes sides. It's his responsibility to move from one side to get over into here. Forward sprint out, forward come, D over. This D man's going to come back into the net. So they have DD forward, and center. There's one way or the other playing D zone in your own coverage. It's up to what the coach wants and what the players does. This one, when you play like this, your centerman is doing a lot. He's logging a lot of minutes. Puck comes out. There he is again. Not worried about high on man. D-man lets him go. All right. He works to the other side. There he is again. Okay. So that's what we try to figure out when it's going on how are we playing. And again, we're not going to change our system offensively. It's just how do we move the puck in that area that we can score goals. Here's an example. We're playing Winnipeg tomorrow night. How do you play in the neutral zone? Teams play a 1-2-2, a 1-1-3. So we've got to sit, break it down, and decide what they're doing. We're fortunate. You saw another slide there that's coming. You watch the game on TV. They have great camera angles. They're showing they're up and tight. So now when we've watched the game, take 4 of them to watch to see how do they play the neutral zone. Right now, you'd be thinking they're in a 1-4 maybe. All right, they're coming up. Looks like a 1-3-1. And then, okay, so I'd say, well, it looks like they're going to play a 1-3-1. We've watched enough game. Now we use our games from our team against them previously. We played in Winnipeg the other day. We get a different angle. So I'll go through 2 of these quickly and you'll see them. Here they are with an overhead. So we get to see more of the ice. We turn the puck over. 81 jumps to get back into his spot. And if I roll this a bit, there's their 3 guys across the ice, across the blue line. The next one as we go in shows a better angle too. Here's F1. Here's F2. So as we roll it a little bit, there's their 3 guys. He's in a spot. He's pushing. Now, since we've done our pre-scout, we do a pretty good job here. We come from a guy from behind. We kick the puck out. We're in. We just missed a little bit of a pass on that one. We go back to the Florida Panthers. We've watched their games. We're trying to see what happens. Oh, I got to get this. Okay. I'll take this out of overhead, guys. Take this one out of overhead. Put it in the program for us. All right. Here comes the Florida Panthers. They kick the puck out. Okay, here's F1. We go. There's 2. There's 3. There's their defenseman jumping in on it. An overhead one. Great, so you get to see it again. All right, here we go. Everybody can see the computer, there's their F1, there's their F2, there's their F3 in the middle, and their D to D. Now, we break this down. We go, how do we come through the neutral zone? So against a 1-1-3 or a 1-1-2, you have a guy in the middle. You can make a little pass out to here, or you can use a flat pass. It will beat both systems. The difference is we just need to know what we're seeing, what we're playing against. All right. Next thing we go for Winnipeg. When they're going to come with speed. They can score goals. How do they score off rushes? What's tendency is like in every game, you want a 2-on-1. This guy gets beat. All right. So this player here, we want a 2-on-1 him. All right. There they are. Shot. So we're going from our zones from your own zone to the other end. Scoring chances usually take about 6 or 7 seconds off a rush. All right. So we know now we playing in a 1-1-3. They're coming. We need to have a good player defenseman. And then here's a play of them. This is just going, we looked at our systems. This is how they check. Okay, show me some special players. Well, here comes 2 special players here. They kick out. All right, 81 and 55. They have chemistry. They know who each other are on the ice. They look for each other. This would happen probably 10, 15 times a year for a goal. All right, they know where they are. They know what's happening. Boom. Another one of those guys that would do this would be Connor McDavid and Draisaitl. When you pre-scout them, they're going to seam the puck through the house, top of the circle, and both of them can hammer pucks. Okay, so we're taking breakaways like that. We're looking through it. Okay, I'm going to come back into it. That has to be done within 3 minutes. Now, it gets broken down from 30 clips down into about 15. I get to show the coach Bear. He gets to add clips if he wants. The next part of our pre-scout goes that we now have a plan. Oh, hang on. I got to share this. Here's a clip against, so this was against the New York Rangers. We looked at it. We showed video. We see that in their D zone coverage, in the offensive zone, their D are very active, and they like to seam play. Okay, how is a team? We've watched them. We played against them. How do we beat that? Head on a swivel. Communicate. Number one thing in hockey. Whether if you can instill it to a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, to 15-year-olds, if you talk, the game is a lot easier. They need time to make seam play. Don't let them. Trench man hard. So all coaches are going to have different vocabulary. For me here, it's my second year here. Vocabulary's changed from a head coach in Sudbury to last year with Rick Tokic to this year with Andre Tournier. It's important for the coaches to know the wording and how to communicate it to the players. So this gets placed up on the board. It's probably in about 3 rooms. We expect the players to read it, understand it, and ask questions. Red is always them. Black is how we will beat it. All right. We're not changing. We never change the style we play. It's just how do we put what we've practiced for all week into games? Here's face-offs. Everything is broken down right to it. They seal the middle. They'll do whatever. Oh, sorry. This is face-offs. 3 stretch in the neutral zone, which would mean when we show video, they win the draw at their blue line. It goes D to D. Both wingers are taking off. Their centermen are going up the ice. They just want to fire it up, chip it in, and get heavy onto the forecheck. All right. So we have face-offs, forecheck, O-zone play. What do they do in their D zone? How can we beat it? Okay. We have it all the way broken down to here's the power play. Here's power play. Here's how they forecheck. Here's how they play in their zone. Are they in a diamond? Do they run a windshield? Everyone has a different expressions. Do they run a toilet bowl? And if you have a question, I can explain that one a little bit. These are all posted every game, gone over by 5 coaches. And then we come up with our final game report. Now, when we go back to it, I'm going to go back to our pre-scout. Okay, in the video. And this is what I'll show you. Oh, hang on. Why is that? Sorry, guys. I have too many buttons open here right now. Sharing. All right, I won't do it. So what we have is game after game after game. After we've played our game, we've liked the game, we like the way we broke out 2 or 3 times. We will put that in a keeper file. So the next time we play it, we can use us. We don't always want to worry about what a different team, how they're beating. Our pre-scout is what do we do? What do we do against the team? And how do we beat them? Do you guys have any questions on that?
There's 2 questions that we have so far. So the first one is regarding just what software it is that you use. I know that you mentioned that, but if you want to mention the software that we currently use for pre-scouting, and then if you have any recommendations or familiarity with software for pre-scouting for youth hockey teams, maybe something that's more affordable. Maybe Joe has an input on this, but There's some questions regarding software.
We use what is called XOs, and yeah, it's an expensive system. I can actually say from coaching my kids up through minor hockey, we used Huddle, and I thought it was a great tool because you can show it, you can put it on the web, put it out there. Your players can have it. You can still write comments on what you've seen as a good play, a bad play. But I think it's important that the kids see what they've done, but also and see the opponent that they're going to play. Again, you play a team 5 times, 6 times, and they're a really good team. If you're dialed in and you know the system you can play, you can beat them because you've studied the game.
Excellent. Okay, the next question is, does that mean that your game/system stays the same all season, or does it depend on what is practiced each week?
We pretty much play the same way from start to finish, right? I think there's some tinkering that goes on. If you started the season 0-5 and you're getting beat on if you're forechecking, which we go over and we watch. If we're getting beat on the forecheck, we will change it to go. If you're forechecking in a 2-1-2, because that's what you think your team is built for, and it's not working, you are going to have to adapt. You're going to change. But once you get something that works well, if you watch the Tampa Bay Lightning for 2 years, they haven't really changed. They've just perfected of what they're doing.
Excellent. Okay, the next question, I'm a little confused. I'm going to try to translate that out for you, but someone is asking, love the video format, about how much time between video person and yourself or whichever coach is working with the athletes prior to the presentation. So I think they're trying to figure out how much time you maybe spend between video or in person when it comes to your coaching methods.
Okay, so the video coach would watch 3 games. He breaks it down. They're very good. They can watch games fast forward. For me, would then probably be 20 minutes to a half hour to cut it back down in and add comments. But since it's our full-time job, if you and Shane can say to this, you come into our office, our computers are always open and you're always watching hockey, whether you're pre-scouting or going over your game. And sometimes if you watch your game too much, you find a lot of bad habits and it gets worse. But from pre-scout to the finished package is probably an hour.
Okay, cool. Some other questions that we have, and I think this is particularly about the video. Do all 5 guys back check through the dots?
No, they do not back check. So, and then those become individual meetings and sometimes a team meeting. So we will put them on after every game. We played them. If we play tomorrow, the following day before we go on the ice, we'll have a video and we'll have video session, most likely in one aspect of the game. It might be just our forecheck. So we'll show our forecheck. Lately, since we've had some time off, even at the National Hockey League, we've gone back to the basics, gone back to fundamentals of showing us not finishing checks, not back checking through the dots, not angling a person properly. So we have video every day, sometimes as individuals and every day as a team. But yeah, no, we make a lot of mistakes up here. And if you make the mistake, it usually ends up in the back of your net.
Another question is, wouldn't a change in the lines make up a change in the predictability of how a team executes in different situations?
In change of the lines. Well, you'll see that we have more team. When you're on the road, you have to change first. The other team gets the home change, right? So they're going to try to keep their most skilled players, their best offensive players away from the checkers, right? And that's why home ice is important, especially in playoffs. You get the last change. I think it's best. You don't want to change your lines every single day, because then there's no chemistry. You get some guys playing, you need to let them play for a while. If in an 82 game season for us, it's going to go flat. It's going to go stale, but your best players need to play with your best players. The best lines was ever on in the NHL we played for a long, we'd play 70 out of 80 games together. The odd time you got to shake something up, but consistency is key.
All right, excellent. I think those are all of our questions. I don't know if there's any final questions that people have. But
Coach, I had one for you. You had mentioned there that you had coached youth hockey prior also, and all of us, including myself here, were dealing with the teenagers and their development and trying to get them to understand the game better and work on their skills. When pre-scouting a team and you're looking at who you're about to play, do you prefer that the kids have more of a aggressive mindset with running their routes on the system you're playing, or a smarter, more passive type of way of going about their game when they're trying to learn it? Like as we know, young kids have a tendency to be overly aggressive, especially in the neutral zone or on forechecks and that stuff. Do you have any hints for the guys and for myself on something like that?
Yeah. At the younger age, I wouldn't worry about as much as the mistakes as you can teach it. Now, if, and Andre's been great at this, if we get the fundamentals down, if you learn how to angle properly, if you know how to put your stick in the right position, you can end up playing any system a coach wants, because you know how to play the proper way, getting in front of somebody, holding somebody up. I think if we're going through and are watching a game, you kind of let the kids go a bit, as long as they're doing the right mechanics. If again, the puck goes D to D, you're angling, where's your stick go? Go right at him, put your stick on puck, keep going at him, over playing systems and having to win as a young age. As you get older, the more detailed you are, you can win hockey games when you're not as good as the opposition.
we have a few more questions that have come into the Q&A box. How are minor adjustments communicated during the game to beat an opponent's strategies? Do coaches discuss goals against immediately after, on the bench, or in between periods?
It's discussed right away. We have with us, we have 4 coaches on the bench. So you have 8 eyes, plus we have the video coach who's in the back, but you usually see one coach is going to see the major issue right away. And as we walk through it, we're fortunate we have video on it. And I think it's good to correct that play right away. That's me personally as a coach. You don't have to come down hard, but when like, it was Clayton Kells, you over back check here, right? It's gone through twice in the game already. We never got burnt on it. This time you went too far. So remember, you're coming back into the house. You're coming back in your own zone. Stop, go into your position and let the play happen. And that's going back to Mike's thing about guys getting over anxious to play to get going. You got to let them make mistakes. I love it too. We're allowed 1 mistake. So if one player gets out of position, the other guy's in the right spot. If we can do that, it allows you to play the game freely.
Okay, and the next question is, do you run different systems each period to make space on the ice for yourself? Example, dump and chase in the first to create space in the neutral zone, then switch to fast break in the second, gain zone, then slow it down?
No, we try to play the same way right from start to finish. Now, to me, and you go through, you can change a little bit. To me, as a coach, it's always great when you score in the first minute, right? Because then you're into the game, but you don't want to give up a goal in the last minute of a hockey game, of a period. So maybe with about 1.5 minutes left to go in the period, maybe you'll change that. You're getting the puck deep. You're not trying to beat a guy one-on-one, but the rest of the time is play. Again, you're up by 3 goals in the third period. Maybe you'll play a little more dump and chase, but we want to play the guys to play the same way, 60 minutes.
All right, the next one is, I'm curious to what extent they're able to absorb these game reports, great work, specifically in back-to-back nights. How do you highlight those critical adjustments?
They're picked up. Again, if we're playing back-to-back, we don't go on the ice. So we'll have video, and video will be, again, already prepared for them. And the players in today's game, after the game, they have iPads, they watch their games, they watch their shifts. So when we come the next day to correct something, 95% of them know exactly as soon as the play starts, they're going to know the mistake they made or the right play they made, right? So they're in tune on it. And for us, it's just reminders. That game's over. This is what we did well. This is what we're going to use for tonight's game to continue to grow.
All right, excellent. I'm going to ask one more question and then we'll get it turned over to Joe Bonnet. So this one is more about how to mix up your line. So he's basically breaking it down to like high skill, medium skill, low skill. Would you recommend that I have my better players play with my weaker players in practice and mix up my lines in practice to help develop my weaker players?
That can go, you know what? I don't think it's a bad thing to mix them up, because you can see where you gauge and players know where they are. I don't want to go against this guy because he's big and strong and he's mean. I don't want to go against this guy because this could happen. You can mix your lines, but then at times too, it's better in order for a player to improve, he's got to play against the best. So it's okay to put your better players play against the better players, but then also filter in at times. You don't want one of everything. And again, on a line, you might have a guy who can really skate, a guy who can score goals, and a guy who can really pass the puck. If you had 3 guys on a line that all pass the puck, you might have zone time, but you're never going to create offense, or if they're slow. So you got to manage that one. But to me, have the guys compete against each other that they know they're going to get better at.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Cory. Just a reminder to everyone, in order to, if you are on here for CEP credits, you'll have to register for all 5. I'll be sending out the next one in the next day or so, just so everyone can get registered and prepared for that next webinar. Thank you so much, Cory, for sharing everything with us today, breaking down some video. It was really helpful. These are recorded, so they'll be available on the Coyotes YouTube channel. And again, I'll send out an email letting everyone know when those are available so you can share them with your coaching staff, anyone who might not be able to be here. So thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and transition over to Joe Bonnet from USA Hockey.
Thanks, Christina. Great job, Cory. Great insight there, and listening and watching those types of breakdowns from a high level NHL coach is always exciting and good stuff. Great stuff to learn from. The one person had a question in there too, something about showing film is important rather than just telling them what they're doing wrong. That was kind of the question. And what we're looking at USA Hockey right now, especially for young kids who maybe don't watch as much hockey growing up as maybe the old guys on the screen here used to when we were young, is we're taking a little bit of a different approach about putting the players in front of video. And so if you can, and I know some of the people in the chat, USA Hockey, we did just partner with Live Barn. We've partnered with Hockey TV. We do partner with X's and O's. And Mike, you might know there's a different company out there that actually you can pay a company at the youth hockey level to break your tape down and actually send you the results. The name of that company's slipping my memory, but I know the people that use that company are having pretty good results, and everybody doesn't have a paid NHL coach on their Pee-wee staff like Cory Stillman, right? So that's a pretty good tool too. But what we've been doing is trying to show kids tape and then say, okay, what do you see here? What are the options? Where is the other player on the line? Why did you make that mistake? What else could you have done? And try having the kids then talk through hockey situations using film at maybe the youth hockey level might be a good way too, to finally figure out as a coach what's going on in their brain. Because we do know with teaching techniques, telling kids to pass doesn't mean they're going to pass. You have to create the environment, and you have to create the hockey IQ for them to understand passing windows and who's open and who's not open and when and where to pass and so forth. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move forward. I'm going to try to crack this out in about 20 minutes. It's a little bit of a piece of our level 3 and 4 combined. And I was just down in Phoenix about two and a half months ago, right before the season started. And I was able to present to a lot of the youth hockey directors and the hockey coaches within the Phoenix area. And I did give a little bit of this live. So some of this might be redundant. Some of it might be new for you, but USA Hockey right now is we've kind of become obsessed on the evolution of skill within our country. And we know that for USA Hockey to develop better players, ultimately we need better coaches. That's why with Christina and Shane and Cory and Mike doing this presentation here in this series is really doing a good job with developing better coaches. And we know with better coaches, we're going to ultimately get better players. And so we've been looking at skill and how skill has evolved. We had Mike Sullivan at our level 5 in Duluth, Minnesota over the summer, and he's really gone down the rabbit hole on what is skill. And normally if I ask people, our webinars are interactive, so I'm just going to kind of talk through these slides. But if we ask people to define skill, normally people would say skate, shoot, pass, stick handle, right? The fundamentals of the game. And that is a definitely very important piece of skill. But what we found out is that there's different components to the definition of skill. So for 20 years, I was a college hockey assistant. It was my job to give scholarships to skilled players. All right, go out and find a skilled player. What does that mean? Right. And so as we go through this presentation today, I'm just going to we're going to define skill as a group, and then that'll set me up for my next presentation for the next series that Christina is going to put on. So many of you have seen this commercial with Patrick Kane. And if I ask people, is this skill? I think 99% of you would say, yeah, Joe, this is skill. Right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to define skill, but we're going to say this is just a single piece of our definition. So this is that fundamental of stick handling. It's technical stick handling work. Now, Patrick Kane is the top 1% of hockey players in the entire world. So his technique here, the fundamental of stick handling, is unbelievable. It's very strong. But what we're going to find is there's really little decision-making involved. Yes, he has to decide what puck to go around. Yes, he has to decide what skates are not going to hit the pucks. But there's really no true decision-making involved in this activity. Or I should say there's low decision-making, right? Not high. And then the third component, there's not really somebody trying to take the puck away from him. No one's trying to check him. There's not really a live environment that he's involved with. So as we look at this commercial, we say, yeah, this is very good technical work. Okay. But we're going to argue that this is technically skill. Okay. We had Owen Nolan on the call here a while ago, and I asked Owen, I said, Owen, how many players in the NHL could do what Patrick Kane's doing right now? And he thought clearly over 60 to 70% of the NHL players, which makes sense because they're the top 1% player in the world. But then why isn't there more Patrick Kanes in terms of production? And that's what we're going to take a look at.
It's allowed for second of the net.
A little bit highlight video of Patrick Kane.
Moves it to the back.
Shut up. Just take a look at it.
Sharp will start it. I'll just give it to that guy. And then watch about 5 Minnesota guys get mesmerized by Kane. Now watch Sharp as he comes around the back of the net. You got white jerseys everywhere except on.
Down the boards and the drop pass comes to Kane. Gets set. Won't shoot it from that angle. Skates with it. Skates with it. Shoots. Scores. Wow, baby. What a play.
This is unreal. 4 assists in game 5. 2 goals and an assist tonight. Maybe you got to take care of this guy. Patrick Kane. Unbelievable.
And it's picked up by Kane. Patrick Kane to the middle of the net. Patrick Kane has a hat trick. And the Blackhawks away from getting to the final goal.
He's done it 8 times before. My goodness.
Okay, to save time, we're going to keep moving. Now, we're going to watch those clips again. And what I want you to do as you watch those clips, I only want you to, we're going to take out that cool music, take out the bright lights, take out the cool Blackhawk jersey. And now what we're going to do is we're going to look just at the physical complexities of Patrick Kane. That's it. Okay, so let's watch those clips again. I think they're going to be without the music. And I'm going to talk over it. So here he gathers the puck, stick handles it, protects it, passes. Okay, we're just watching the physical complexity now. Okay, so he gathers the puck. He has his head up, stops, shoulder check, pushes the puck away, skates, pushes, scoots, crossover, stick handle, wrist shot. Just the physical complexity. So stick check, crossover, stick handle, slides it through the triangle, backhand shot. This is an interesting one. He stops, he slows down, stick handles a lot of times between his shoulders, a couple of head fakes, one stick handle wide, the puck ends up in the back of the net. So let's keep moving here. This one's ridiculous. Backhand toe drag, stick handle, wrist shot, goal. Okay, so let's pause for a second. So I've seen Shane Doan's team play. I've seen Mike DeAngelis' team play in the past. And I'd say on average, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, in terms of the physical complexity, most kids have reasonable demonstration of what we just saw. Stick handling, shooting, passing. But the question when you watch those clips or Patrick Kane in action, what makes Patrick Kane special? Now, stick handling is good, his skating is good, there's no question. But he's 189 pounds in NHL playoff hockey when guys are trying to take his head off. It's more than just stick handling around guys that are just as good as him. So really, what makes Patrick Kane Patrick Kane? What makes Patrick Kane skilled? Is it the stick handling around stationary pucks? Or is it the hockey sense, perception, manipulation, knowing when he has time and space, knowing when to shoot, knowing the selection of the play? So as we start to define skill, yes, it's very good technique, but it's also that hockey sense, perception, and awareness that allows Patrick Kane to have eyes behind his head and make that flat pass to Patrick Sharp with a no-look pass, right? 360 hockey IQ. And then the final pillar is Patrick Kane can do this at the highest level in a real game at the NHL. To me, the three pillars of technical work, hockey sense and perception, the ability to perform is what we would define skill now at USA Hockey. And this is going to become important for your youth coaches because it's going to ultimately get into why you design your practices the way you design it. Okay. We stole this saying here from soccer. All great players are great jugglers of the ball, but all great jugglers of the ball are not great players. So this is classic USA Hockey. When I came up through the 80s, we were great. Our country was great at developing practice players. Skate through cones, shoot, get in line. Skate through cones, shoot, get in line. Boy, do those guys look good in practice, but when the puck drops, these guys suck. How many guys do you have that on your team? You picked a kid in tryouts because he has a perfect forward skating stride. He can snap a bar down shot against a cone or a tire, but when he has to steal a puck against live action, you don't even notice him in the game. We're urging coaches to develop jungle tigers. Look that up on YouTube. It's a 5-minute cartoon of tigers that can hunt and kill their own food in a jungle, that can play hockey, not be told what to do, and not just skate around cones, shoot, get back in line. Okay. So again, as we go through this series with Christina, I want you to keep this definition in check and think about stuff as we move forward. Here's a great example of Cristiano Ronaldo. He's a top 1% soccer player in the world. Okay. We're going to do a study here. They're going to shut the light off as soon as the ball's kicked. And you can see now Ronaldo actually puts that in with his head. That's a very highly skilled play, okay, in soccer. And he did it in the dark. The second goal now, they're going to turn the lights off just as the ball's kicked, so a little sooner. And you're going to see here in a second that Ronaldo puts this ball in the net using a very high skilled play. I think it's called the dibble. It's actually a kick off the bounce. That's a very complex play in soccer. Okay, so he's 2 for 2. This third one now, they're actually going to shut the lights off before the ball is kicked. And we'll see how Ronaldo responds here. Okay, and he can show you now the ball ends up in the net. Again, top 1% player. Now he does it a very crude way, and he puts it in with the shoulders of his body. So that's not a highly skilled way with using your shoulders, but in the dark, I would say it is. But in short, what this demonstrates is this, and just wanted to be clear, there's no such thing as muscle memory. What Ronaldo has done and acquired is he's so in tune with his environment, his decision-making, his ability to read and then act. He's not reading and deciding the 3 different options he has and then make a decision. He's reading and he's acting over and over and over again. And I would guess that Ronaldo's a highly developed athlete. He probably had a very highly developed childhood as an athlete. And he's so in tune with his environment that he can probably hear the kick. He can hear the ball coming. He has the matrix and the mental acuity to break down that corner kick because he's seen it in street hockey or street soccer. He's seen it in time and time again in practice. And he's so in tune with reading the environment and moving his body appropriately to get the job done that his read and action skills are highly attuned athlete. Now, yes, he's a top 1%, but let's take a look at this in half.
And dumped out. Now picked up by Ovechkin. Here he comes. Ovechkin trying to drag it through him now. He scored.
Board to just take a second look. His tongue's hanging like Michael Jordan. He drags it to the inside, to the backhand.
So the question is, how does Ovechkin score this goal? And I would guess, and Shane, please tell me if I'm wrong, that the Capitals coach did not put out a cone and say, okay, Ovi, you're going to dive over a cone, barrel roll, and then twist your body and put a puck in the net. There's no drill that accomplishes this. Is that right, Shane? Did you ever do that as a pro?
100% correct. I have never done that. I watched that happen and was not very happy because I was close enough to see that very carefully.
That's the Coyotes. No offense there. But we all know that Ovi has unbelievable intangibles, right? He's a goal scorer. He's hungry. He's competitive. So put that to the side. That's the given. I would say most NHL players have that. But what else is Ovi? How does Ovi score this goal? He has body control. He has unbelievable DNA. Both of his parents were Olympians, right? He grew up playing tennis and soccer, right? He probably played 1 million hours of street hockey. His coaches in Russia probably let the kid play and make mistakes and do a lot of athletic stuff growing up as a kid. His physical literacy is probably off the chart, right? So again, when we're defining skill, it's not just having a perfect snapshot. It's having those intangibles of being in tune with your environment, being athletic, okay, and then obviously having good fundamentals. So at USA Hockey moving forward, we define skills simply as this. It's the execution of technique. And I think if you look up the definition of skill, I think that's the way it's basically defined now. And that's changed over time. But what we're really looking at, and as a youth coach, do you have 3 pillars that are coupled? Do your players have a really good foundation in technique, the technical stuff, the skate, shoot, pass? Do they have a great foundation in hockey sense, IQ, and perception? And then ultimately, do they have the ability to perform in a live environment? And if you can say that your practices offer those opportunities, not to separate taking a pass and thinking about a pass, but to couple thinking and passing, thinking and shooting, thinking and checking, thinking and whatever you want to do, thinking and forechecking, thinking and breaking out. If you couple those as a coach and combine those as much as you can so the kids are getting reads, you're going to be a hell of a youth hockey coach. And now we're going to be in the profession of defining skill. So right now, it's the buzz right now online. So if you look at Twitter, all the skills coaches are coming out of this. I just stole this from Prodigy Hockey today because I just saw this tweet. The difference between technical or technique and skill. Technique, the physical execution of a movement, etc. Stick handling, shooting, passing, skating. It's what we've been talking about. But skill is coupling the perception, sight, feel, hearing with your physical execution to solve a problem, which is a really important piece. And that's what we're going to look at during my next presentation. Example, reading when to escape based on the opposing player to pressure, combining the read with the deployment of a technique to solve a problem. If you can create those players, you can sit back and enjoy your coffee on the bench because your players are going to have the ability during live games to read and react, to manipulate, to read plays, and to get things done. So having great technique doesn't mean you're skillful. Understanding the difference to get more out of your training does. Okay, so if we go to the Pittsburgh Penguins, this is their skill coach, and he's working with the 14U Pens Elite here. And this is a very good drill. They're working on stick handling, and they're working on, let me turn this volume down here. They're working on edge control. Okay, these are 14U Pens Elite players. And I would argue that these players have pretty good competency for this drill. Okay, but it's good. It's edge control, it's puck handling. But the thing that we notice now, there's nothing wrong with these drills. I just want to be very clear. I'm not beating up drills. I'm not beating up this coach. There's always a time and place for blocked technique practice. I saw Cal McCarr the other day at South Suburban working on his one-timer, getting the exact same pass with no pressure from his coach. He's practicing his technique. Okay. But the question now, what I want you as youth coaches to start thinking about is, how do we make our drills better? How do we put opposition in here? How do we put decision-making in here? Because if we, just for the sake of this presentation, are going to agree that skill development or skill is the three pillars, the technique, the hockey sense and perception, the ability to perform in a live environment, how do we then build onto this drill so we can get more skilled players? Again, this is good technique. I think these guys show competency. And the other thing is, the kids that are standing in line, they know the answers to the drill. The obstacles are fixed on the ice, similar to what Patrick Kane was doing against those pucks. The obstacles are never moving. And we know the answer is going to end with a deke around a stick on the ice with a shot into an open net. So there's no brain development. We are forgetting about the brain. Okay. All right. So if we go to Finland now, this is IFK, and they're working on very similar skills here. And this is a presentation within itself. Okay. So these kids are working on their skating, but the obvious question here is, the environment now is much more different. The environment is live. People are moving. They have space. They don't have space. Okay. So on a light whistle, these kids will do an escape. There's a progression to these drills. But the thing here is that if the kids don't play with their head up, and if they don't anticipate where pressure is coming from, they're going to end up on their ass. So the skill development here is still stick handling. They're still working on their escapes. I think they're working on, they are working on their escapes on a soft whistle, but they're also having to do the math. Do they have time and space? If so, they can speed up. Is somebody in their path? If so, they need to change their direction, right? So again, just by changing the environment, you can add a little bit of the mental part, the hockey perception and awareness, into your training, okay? So as a coach, and I see there's a question about, I think that's Power Edge Pro. I'm not quite sure what they think about it. I don't work for them. I do know our national team program has used them in the past. And I think that when our national team, and Danny Muse is our coach now, works with Power Edge Pro, he does it for the technical positivity out of it, of getting the fast hands, of stick handling through the triangle. But I think our coaches also understand too that by having fixed structures there, we do need to then advance that or take the next step in terms of adding randomness to practice, so we do engage the brain better. I'm not saying you don't engage the brain with Power Edge Pro, but you can do it at a much more difficult level than having fixed things on the ice, as we just saw with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So as a coach, and this goes into that question, there's nothing wrong with blocked. But in blocked is when you're learning a technique, such as a young player learning how to pass, or maybe using their outside edge on a crossover. But when you start to get into random, now you're starting to talk about performance, okay? And that's that last piece of what we were talking about, skills. You can be the most beautiful stick handler in the world, but if you can't perform in a crazy, chaotic environment, right, then you're going to be limited as a player. So what USA Hockey is saying, again, is yes, you should be polished with your block technique, but we also want you to start thinking about random practices, tight spaces, putting kids in practices where they have to problem solve and think. Should I go left? Should I go right? Should I go slow? Should I go fast? Should I shoot? Should I pass? Combined with those technical fundamentals, because now you're getting into learning. Now you're developing little, I should say, little Porsches and Ferraris, not buses and Mack trucks, right? Now you're talking about performance. And I think as we look across the country, the more we walk into rinks, we're starting to see this type of learning going on. And it's one of the reasons, not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons why USA Hockey and the American player is starting to take off. So my last two slides here, and this leads us into again, the next presentation. As coaches, the most important question you need to ask is, what do your players need, right? And so, where are your players at? What are their technical capabilities? What is their mental perception and hockey IQ? And then you as a coach, how do you give it to them? Just because my dad did really cool drills back in Detroit when I was growing up, doesn't mean I do those same drills. What do my players need? And you'll notice too that USA Hockey is not necessarily giving out small area game books and drill books anymore. We're trying to empower the coaches. You guys know drills. You guys know what you're doing. You guys know your team better than I do, obviously. And so how can you create the environment using our definition of skill to develop better skilled players and better hockey players across the country? How can you make your drills better? How can you make your drills not just technical drills, but brain drills and performance drills? And then finally, which goes into my last slide, ultimately step back as a coach and what does the activity or game actually ask of the players? I look at some of the drills I used to run at Colorado College and I look back at them now and they're so simple that it was skate through cones, shoot, get in line. It was make one pass to a guy who was standing still and get the pass back and go shoot. So if you get mad at your players for not stopping in front of the net, do you have an environment that encourages your players to stop in front of your net? If you get mad at your players because they're a bunch of dummies and they can't transition from offense to defense to offense to defense and then make a play, maybe because your practice doesn't replicate that. So as we go through this series and we talk with these great NHL coaches, and I'm going to pop in one more time, I think, and we're going to talk about constraints-led approach in terms of how you can create some of these environments to develop these types of skills within your players. It's just great things to do. And I will definitely not say there's not one way to do it. You guys are really good coaches, but you know what, just like your players, try to be a sponge, always try to evolve as a coach. Always try to think about how can we make our players better? How can I have my team more organized so we can perform better? And these are just the latest and greatest techniques that we're finding as we travel around the world. When we go to Finland and Sweden, when we go around the country and watch great practice from all around the country. So I'm going to wrap it up there, Christina. I really appreciate, again, the opportunity to speak and sit in and be part of the Phoenix Coyotes. And I know, Shane, you kind of spearheaded this, and I can't tell you how wonderful this is to talk to coaches. So thanks for having me. And Christina, I look forward to our chat next time.
All right. Awesome. Do you have any time for questions? I do have one question in the Q&A.
Sure.
All right. So Mark asks, this gets more complex with house or JV teams where there are extremely broad array of skills. Do you have some thoughts on how to reconcile the wide array of physical skills with building hockey sense and perception while they're still trying to learn to skate at 15 or 16?
That is a fantastic question, and it's a very fair question. And the first answer is a lot of patience because I'm coached. I know exactly what he's talking about. The thing that I would say though is that what I've learned over my years of coaching is that don't ignore the brain. I guess that's the answer, very simply put. So when I'm working with 8U beginners, or even on my BAM AA team, I got kids that are way behind, and that's a whole different story. I get really anxious if I do too many block drills because of our definition. I know for a young player to be good, you have to have good hockey sense and IQ, right? And so my answer is this to the coach is don't ignore the hockey sense part, no matter what beginning level it is. But the power is in the coach. And I think to be a good youth hockey coach, it's a masterful blend. Everyone thinks, well, here's Joe Bonnet. He's an ADM policeman. And if I'm not doing station-based crap, I'm going to get a ticket. No, that's not it at all. You guys know that's why you have to know what your players need. If their basic fundamentals and technical work are lagging, if we have a late entry kid, if we have a kid that's playing above his ability, it's your job as a coach to go back down to his level and technique them up. And what I'm going to show in my next presentation is a funnel of variability. So can you work block drills for beginners and young kids and even good solid AAA players and junior players? Absolutely. My team just went to Detroit and Honey Bake beat us, and our confidence is down. I'm going to come down the funnel and we're going to do simple block drills to get our confidence back up, right? Or I got an 8U kid that can't even stand up. So now I'm going to do stationary passing, just focusing on rolling the wrist, whatever it is, right? Or I have a team that can't break out. So I'm going to, we're going to do some 5-on-0 breakout. But you don't want to live there. You can't stay there forever. And as soon as you see competency, kind of like those kids in Pittsburgh, I saw competency there. To me, as a coach now, as soon as you see competency, as soon as you start to see kids getting the hang of it, you get the brain in. So for example, an 8U kid that can barely skate, maybe it's a ping pong paddle. Red side is slow, green side is fast. So they have to have their head up. There's a read and react while they're doing a skating drill, right? Or you know what? Maybe it's a bantam player who can toe drag on their forehand, but now they can't toe drag on their backhand. So I'm going to bring it down. But as soon as they get that backhand toe drag, now I'm going to go live environment, right? So you're constantly deciding on what the kids need. You have to go up and down the funnel. Some of it's going to be blocked, but you can't live there for long because you don't want to, again, create that practice player, which was USA Hockey was so famous for in the 80s and the 90s.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. And thank you for everyone who joined us today. The recording will be available after this call, and we'll also be posting it on the Arizona Coyotes YouTube channels, and I'll email all that out when it's ready to go. And we'll all see you on the next one. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being on here. Really appreciate it, everybody.